All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back to the channel. So we're going to talk about CAIN Velasquez again because we're going to talk about misinformation as it relates to CAIN. Misinformation is a term used very heavily nowadays. And, it doesn't really even necessarily mean anything in most cases. In this case, the way I'm defining it is people have been given the impression of this thing, and this is not accurate, okay? So that's misinformation. Now, technically, what was shared is not a lie, right? But the impression that people are getting is not real, is not reality, okay? I'm going to tell you exactly what I mean by that, because I am a magnet for everyone's opinions on CAIN because I did a few videos about them that got some attention. So people are emailing me their opinions. They are commenting their opinions. And so I have been an incredible census board for what people think about this case. I've shared, obviously, that I have a relatively strong view about this being a father of 3 daughters where I think about protecting them all the time. I hadn't even really thought about this, about the other night I was on a live stream and someone was like, hey, tell me about your tattoos. And no one had ever asked me that on a live stream before. And I was like, huh. And so I basically go through this arm. I'm like, well, this is, this is my wife and baby. And this gigantic thing here represents me watching over. Basically, it means I'll fucking kill you if you fuck with my wife and kid. That's the tattoo here. Right here, more of the same, more of the same. And then, oh shit, here, more of the same. Oh fuck, this entire arm is I'll fucking kill you if you fuck with my family. Crazy. Literally, this entire sleeve is fuck with my family, I'll fucking kill you. So I feel strongly enough about it that I inked it on myself permanently forever. I don't know why that's notable. It just is. But nonetheless, so the opinions that I keep on hearing over and over and over and over and over, okay? First of all, anybody who does not support CAIN doesn't have kids. That is what I've noticed, okay? I have not seen a single person who has interacted with me that has not supported CAIN where I go, do you have kids? No, but I have... No, well, wait, no, yes or no? Do you have kids? No, but no buts, the end. We are not talking about this anymore. You have an uninformed opinion if you don't have kids, end of story, right? So I can't find anyone who has a nuanced view on this beyond just you can't judge him for that has kids, okay? Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to bury the lead. The misinformation is this, okay? Because this is something that I've heard over and over and over and over and over. And I even mentioned this on another video, but I'm going to prove it to you now. If CAIN was reckless, anyone could have been killed. You can't just go out and shooting up intersections, okay? You can't just go out shooting up intersections, man. It's not a thing you could do. All right. Well, here's the fucking intersection that he shot up, okay? Here you go. Google Earth. Here is the intersection that he shot up. Do you understand what an intersection means? I know everyone hears intersection. They think Whole Foods on the right, fucking buildings on the left. Oh, a mall over here. Yeah. The intersection where there's the mall on the left. There's the Whole Foods on the right. There's a million people around. There's cars everywhere. Of course. Okay. An intersection means 2 fucking roads meet each other. That's what an intersection is. This road meets this road at an intersection. Okay. There isn't a fucking person around this place. There's no buildings. There's shit. He shot up a car at farmland. And if he chased him for 11 fucking miles, that probably means that he waited until there were no people around so he could specifically shoot at Galarte. And then, I don't know if this is coincidence or not, but when he hit the driver, which was not Galarte, he stopped firing. So maybe he was like, oh shit. All right. So he showed restraint there. But the bottom line is the thing about oh my God, he could have killed anyone at an intersection. No. Misinformation. Okay, that's how I classify misinformation. Is you picture intersection, you think mall and Whole Foods, not what it actually was. Okay, there's your misinformation, and there's the fucking proof. Now, also, I read something about a bunch of other fighters sending in letters, and there's other ways you can help. There actually are ways we can help now, right? So, number one, a bunch of fighters sent in letters to the judge to have him or her, I guess it's her now, let CAIN out. And I read DC's, and I had some thoughts about this. And actually, obviously DC, I'm going to say with almost bulletproof certainty that DC is helping with his defense fund. He's his best friend. Like, they're like best friends, Like, anytime that I would say anything about Masvidal and Colby and why I didn't believe the beef was real because they were best friends, I was like, do you guys, and there was old footage of them, like, hugging after, doing each other's corners and stuff. And I would say, I'm like, do you know any other fighters that are as close as these two guys? And everyone would say DC and CAIN. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's true. And so, DC is I'm sure he's taking care of CAIN's family. He's probably visiting the jail a lot, telling him everything's okay so he can have peace of mind in there. I would bet my life on that. And I read DC's letter, at least a portion of it. And I thought it was great, of course, except for one thing where he said he was illustrating that, like, what a good person CAIN was. And one of the examples that he used was when all the gyms and places, all the restaurants and gyms were closed, CAIN opened up his house so that people could continue training together. And I was like, oh, dude, DC, probably a little bit more disconnected from that whole thing than I was. But knowing how a lot of these people think, that is not a good thing to say. Like, that's like, of course, like to you and I, that's a no-brainer. I lived in California. I had my daughter in jiu-jitsu every day. However, we'd have board up the windows, right? Because there were crazy, like, people who were legitimately nuts, man. And like saying that sounds like a person who's trying to circumvent what the law of the land was at the time. Like, I read that, I was like, ooh, man, I would not have put that in there. I mean, it doesn't mean they're like not going to, let him out or whatnot. It was something that I noticed where I was like, I would have suggested against that part. But nonetheless, obviously, whatever. It's a tiny detail. But here's my problem with all of it, dude. I thought a lot about this, obviously. My problem with this is like, oh, he's denied bail because he's a risk, he's a threat to society. Are you going to ask him? Like, are you going to ask him if he's a threat to society, or are you just a thing you're going to say? You're just going to say like, oh, he's a threat to society. Oh, okay. Okay. And can you potentially, the guy has no criminal history ever. And at the very least, if you have even, 7 brain cells, you can acknowledge that this situation was very unique, very stress-inducing, and not something that you can just kind of, throw willy-nilly around that, whatever. This is not a normal situation. So you can at least acknowledge that as a human being, that he was under tremendous stress, that he did the right thing initially, that he only went after the guy when he got let out, and then maybe give him the dignity to fucking ask him if he's a threat to society. How about that? How about you fucking ask him, right? And I'm going to give you guys a way to help him at the end of this thing. Or at least I think I am. Because, these guys are trying to help, which is why I'm going to talk about it. But look, like, at the end of the day, just ask him. Let CAIN stand there, treat him like a man, and go, look, if I let you out, do you give me your word that you're not going to go after this guy again? Because CAIN, if he's CAIN's not going to give his word to a judge and then go after the guy again. I don't think. I don't. As a matter of fact, I would just say I don't believe that. Like, as much as the other thing that we've talked about that I'm immovable on, that I'm not going to bring up and poison this video with, like, my read on CAIN is that if he is asked directly, will you give me your word that you'll stay home, you'll spend time with your family, and you will not, under any circumstances, go after this guy again, or anyone else for that matter. If CAIN says yes, he's not going to go after them, dude. Okay? In my opinion, there's nothing about this case that indicates that you can't treat him like a man. Like, look, a paper contract, one that you sign. Okay, that's great that it's enforceable in court, and of course you need contracts. But like, most things you can just say, hey, do we have a deal? And if a person's like, yes, we have a deal, and they're a trustworthy person, then you can rely on that. You can, like, you make a deal with me, it's fucking done, dude. Like, it's a done deal. Now, I'm not talking like, an 8-fight contract over 5 years with an organization. I'm not talking about that. Like, that's, circumstances can change, whatever. But something like this, or like something like, hey, we'll pay you blah, blah, blah to do blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, that's done. Like I mean, I guess that's kind of like the fight thing. Well, whatever. Let's not get into semantics. Okay. And so CAIN has never done anything that would demonstrate that his word is not good. And the only reason to keep him in jail, is if you're trying to say that he's a danger to society. And if he tells you that he's not, because you know he's only after one person, then just give him the dignity and let him go home. Like, at least just say, like, okay, like, I actually think it's fucking insulting that they wouldn't, if I was him, I mean, there's a lot of things I would feel if I was him. But I think he'd be justified in being insulted. That he's like, dude, I went after a guy who fucking molested my kid. That disqualifies me from you having a man-to-man talk with me or a fucking judge-to-man talk with me. Like, fuck that, dude. Anyway, those are my thoughts. But here's the deal. So I had been seeing a bunch of stuff on this Marshall Inu crypto project, right? And, like, I had heard about it. And then I heard a lot more about it because all these fighters started talking about it. Chael, I saw Triple C talk about it. I saw Chael talk about it. I saw a bunch of other people. And apparently these guys have given money to 250 fighters. The whole point of their crypto project is getting fighters paid, right? Fighters are scrapping, dude. Like, fighters are scrapping for money. And that is the purpose of their crypto project. Like, look, I have a project coming out very, very soon. It's more in the NFT space, but very, very connected. And what I know to be true is for these projects to work or for it to be something that matters, it needs to have a purpose, right? Like, it needs to have a purpose. If you just throw some bullshit up and you're like, oh, this is an NFT, like, what? That's the kind of thing that in the long run may not have very much value. You know what I mean? But if there's a purpose behind it, so there's a reason why people get invested, that's what makes something matter. Now, this Marshall Inu project, which I'll put a link below in the description for, these guys just came out on Twitter and they said they're going to donate. They're going to donate to CAIN. Like, he's not fighting anymore, but he's a fighter. He needs help. They literally just put it up, and I spoke to them and verified that's what they're planning to do. So I'm going to put their links in the description. I'm going to go buy some myself, and yeah. So that's what it is. They're like the new ICO that is that's around the fighters. I mean, there's a million people that have talked about this. Like I said, I heard Triple C, I heard Chael. I guess they've given money to like 250 fighters. So the link will be in the description. Free CAIN. Fuck this judge and fuck everybody, man. But don't like, fuck the judge's judgment. Don't like actually go after the judge. Okay. Be nice to everybody and just point out that he had justification to do what he did and they should let him out. But stop saying he could have hit anybody at the intersection because he was in the middle of fucking farmland. That's what I got. Peace.